Welcome to Possibilities.
Possibilities is a program that showcases the talents of persons with disabilities.
It's not the body that does it, but the brain that does it.
Possibilities.
Hello and welcome to Possibilities. Possibilities is a program where we showcase the talents of persons with disabilities. It is also a program where we showcase the aspirations, fears, and courage of persons with disabilities. I am your host, Abe Aki. And today with me in the studio we have Mrs. Tracy Onabis. She is a lawyer, a wife, a mother, an advocate, and a person with albinism. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, viewers.
Okay, man, thank you for creating our time to be here with us today. We don't take this for granted.
The pleasure is all mine.
Okay, so what is the word albinism? What is person with albinism? When we say someone is a person with albinism, what does that mean?
Okay, so albinism is a genetic condition where a person lacks the melanin. You know, melanin is what causes coloration of the skin, the eyes, and the hair.
Okay.
So a person with albinism obviously lacks that melanin. So there is no coloration in the skin, the eyes, and the hair.
Okay.
So basically, that's what albinism is about. So when you see a person who is pale, the skin is pale, the hair is pale, is golden oftentimes, then of course the eyeballs, it ranges from blue to gray to sometimes often even the pupils are white as well, like crystal.
Yeah.
So then you say the person has albinism. It is a genetic condition. That is the underlying factor because of the lack of melanin. It is not as a result of a curse. It's not as a result of infidelity on the part of the mother, like some cultures have it. They will say the mother committed adultery with a white man. That's why she gave birth to a child with albinism. Or that the child is an Ogbanje. That's why the child is pale. No, albinism is a genetic condition.
Okay.
So it's not contagious. It's not a plague. It's not a disease.
Yeah.
It's just a genetic condition that the person who has it has no melanin. So there is no coloration in the skin, the hair, and the eyes. That's what albinism is.
Okay, so how was growing up like? When you started noticing that you kind of different from the siblings or something, how was it like?
Growing up, okay, first off, I grew up in a village, right? And I grew up with my grandparents. My grandfather is, because he's still alive, is a polygamous man. So of course there were other grandchildren in the compound, there were other children. So I actually have 3 sisters with albinism.
Okay.
One, my elder sister is late, she's of blessed memory now. And my elder sister, she's in Lagos, she's married with 2 kids. She is the diva and the fashionista in the family.
Okay.
So, but growing up, we had no robust knowledge of what albinism was all about. What we knew about albinism was what people told us.
Okay.
Was how people made us feel, like how you would go out on the streets and people start chanting, "Oh, you go pepper, you see road," so those kind of things.
Yeah.
Or because of, albinism comes with really, really low vision.
Okay.
So, and maybe when you are in school, you are trying to go, you can't, of course, you cannot see the board, the blackboard. That was what we had then. If you are not really close up in front to the teacher, and then you are walking from your seat to try and go and get a glimpse, come back and write, you're going back and forth, and then some children in the class be like, "Go back, you're blocking us, stop," all of those things. So growing up was not fun to some extent.
Okay.
But as God will have it, my dad traveled out of the country very early when I was just like 1. So he's exposed, he has seen the world, so he understood better what albinism was all about. So he gave us that support. Okay. So when every other member in the family, in the community would want to bring us down, he would tell us, when you go abroad, everybody there is white. So if you go abroad, you are going to blend in, and all of these people that think you are different, they are going to be the different ones. So just think that you are somebody who should not have been born here. That was what he told us, because he also did not understand that okay, it was genetic, but of course he had seen other persons with albinism, but he did not have in-depth knowledge of what it was. But for moral boosting, my dad gave us that 250%. So that was our rock. That was what we held on to. When other members of the family would want to pull us, I remember there was one incident that happened then. My grandmother asked my granddad for money to pay our school fees, because then my dad had not sent her money. And my grandfather then was like, he had not finished paying school fees for the people that should have gone to school. Why should they bring money for those who are not going to go to school? Will probably not amount to anything, because back then other persons with albinism, they did not go to school. Their families did not send them to school. Of course, they grew up remaining in their father's houses. They did not become anything. They would give them handouts to eat and all of those things. Those who were lucky to get married, those who were lucky to learn a trade. Even going to get places to learn a trade then was difficult, because you couldn't see. If you wanted to learn how to sew, they'd be like, how will you be able to pass the thread through the needle? So they would not want to take. If you wanted to learn how to make hair, how would you be able to cut it straight? You know, there's this condition, it's called nystagmus, where people will say shaky eye. You know, so you cannot actually look really straight. You have to focus enough to be able to get it. And people did not want to put in that extra effort to be teaching you, specially in their places of skill acquisition. So it was difficult for others. So my grandfather made that statement that he had not finished paying schools for those that should have gone. Why would he pay for those who should have stayed at home, who will not amount to anything? And I will never forget that statement. I was still little when he said it though, but it's stuck in my head till now. You know, so, and of course the lack of exposure of my grandmother at that time, she did not know how to best cater for us and our needs. If not, I'm sure she would have taken us to go get glasses at our early years, and we'd be able to see better, understand better what was being taught in class. Our teachers did not know, of course, so no special attention was paid. They would just come, they would write, they would speak. It's from what, in my case, it was from what my teachers were saying that I learned from, not from what they were writing. So that made mathematics and other calculation courses really difficult for me. I would have loved to be an architect, but you are saying x minus, you're just scribbling on the board. And if you are putting that other small number 2 on top of the x, I cannot see. I only heard you say x minus something. I don't know that. I will not be able to deduce that you've added a certain figure up there that you are adding. At the end of the day, you get your answer and everybody goes home. You know, so, but I don't know how God did it. Probably he saw, that's why the Bible says God is not an author of confusion. So he knew what the terrain was like on earth. He decided, okay, let me make them naturally intelligent. I've never come across a person with albinism that is dull. There are, yes, there are, but I, for one, have never on a closer level related with one that is really dull. If they have the opportunity of going to school, they will blow your minds. So what we will do then, we'll get home from school, we'll take notes from our friends, we'll go home and we'll write out. So it's from there that we'll now realize, there is something that was added here. Oh, this is what the teacher was talking about that made them arrive at this answer. Do you know, it was after I got married and had kids that I realized that there's this thing then in chemistry, when they are balancing equation. You write H2O and put an arrow and put maybe O plus or something. I did not know it was the figures that were being worked on. So I never got the hang of it till maybe I would have been a science student or something. So, but growing up as a person with albinism in Africa, in Edo State where I'm from, it wasn't fun at all.
You made mention that your sibling is also person with albinism. And how did this affect your parents, especially your mother?
You know, in this part of the world, people tend to describe you by your circumstances, right? If somebody were to say, let's say someone is blind, they would never mention that blind person by their name. They would say that blind man. The blindness will become the person's identity. Yeah. So growing up, my mom, when we would be walking on the road, instead of somebody say, Mama Tracy, they would say Mama Oyibo. You know, and at the time I was like, there was a time that my mom would just want to graduate. You people should stay. Let me just run and go and come back. I did not understand at that time. And something else also happened. There was a time that the extended family took it out on her. And as if it was her fault that she had children with albinism, forgetting that from studies it has shown that the gene has to be stronger on the male side for your child to have albinism. If a woman has the genes but the husband does not have, the chances are very slim. But the man has to carry the gene, and the gene in the man is more powerful. And my family, I have an aunt who is also a woman with albinism, but my extended family decided to overlook all of that, and they poured it out on my mom. That why would she, first child, second child, third child with albinism, something is wrong. They in fact, there were times they tried to send her away severally, and all of those things. So it was not easy on my mom at all. It was not easy on her. She would feel traumatized. I know there were times she would be angry with us, like if only we were born with melanin, like if we had dark skin, probably she would not face the challenges she's facing in her husband's house. Of course, we did not write letter that somebody should give birth to us and that we were coming with albinism. So you did your thing and here we are. So yeah, but it wasn't easy. But thank God she's better now because she has a better understanding of actually what everything was.
Tracy being the lawyer, what was the journey like?
What was the journey like? Okay. So I actually chose law because I couldn't see very far, right? So if they were doing anything calculations, I would not understand. So that made me poor in mathematics. So I when it was time to write JAMB, I carried the brochure and looked for the course that does not have maths.
Okay.
So that was my first reason for choosing law. It's not because I wanted to go and save the world or anything. I chose it because I did not want to do maths.
Okay.
All other subjects, they would just dictate, I would write and we're good.
All right.
So, but when I got into the university, I discovered law, in fact, is like the most beautiful profession anybody can be in because it's versatile. If you are a lawyer, you can be anything.
We'll get back to that question. Viewers, let's take a short break. We'll be right back. We have bills to pay you. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching Possibilities, and in the studio with me is Mrs. Tracy Onabis. Okay, so Tracy, we're talking about you being a lawyer. How was the journey like? And,
Okay.
Was that your choice of profession or something prompted you?
Yeah, like I was saying, it was born out of my phobia for maths and all things calculations. So I had to look for a course where I would not have to focus on the board when the lecturer is teaching. So I chose law. It was the only course I saw at the time that did not have mathematics. But when I got into the university, I discovered that law was a very beautiful course, and it started building my passion for advocacy, for wanting to speak up for the voiceless, for wanting to take up their cases and all of those things. So in my university days, I have this friend. I met on my first day at school. I met this friend. Her name is Barrister Water. She's my best friend till date. Okay. So she actually helped me navigate a lot while I was in school. Because of my vision, when I couldn't do my registrations in the cyber cafe, she would do all of that for me. My course registration, she would do it for me. When results are out, you know, they would put it on the notice board and it's usually high up. She would go and check for me with my matriculation number and all of this. So she was like my anchor at school. And then I didn't have much friends at first, but as time went by and people started to see your potential, people started to see what you could do, I started having, I would not say friends, because after school we had nothing to do with each other anymore. So I would say I started having this clique, this group of people who would come and I would teach them, I would explain to them, I would have tutorials for them. So those were the crew I had at school. But studying was not difficult. I was not victimized in any way. I was not, apart from the usual, because of lack of orientation and everything, apart from the usual snide remarks people would make. But by the time I got to uni, I had grown a tough skin. There's nothing you would say that would make me shrink or want to hide. If you say Oyibo Pepe, I strike a pose. Then I have very fine legs till now. So when I'm going to school, my skirt was moderate, but it would show off my legs really well. So I decided that if people wanted to chant Oyibo Pepe, let me give them something to chant about.
Okay.
So that was my style. And of course, academically, my lecturers, they had to find me out. I did not have to struggle. They had to find me out by my grades. They would come to class, who is the owner of this matric number? If I was not there, people would mention my name, to tell her to come and see me. So that was what it was. School was smooth. Law school was another beautiful experience. It was tough, It was tough because law school is not child's play. I'm not going to lie to you, but I had awesome friends. I had amazing lecturers, and we had good resources at our disposal. So academics was really not a challenge at all.
So Tracy, a wife, a mother, how is it like the journey to marriage, meeting your in-laws and all of that as a person with albinism?
Funny enough, at first I was scared because I had a beautiful relationship that I lost because I was a person with albinism.
Okay.
The family of the young man told him that if we were to get married, that we were going to have children with albinism. Seeing that I was a person with albinism, my sister was a person with albinism, I had an aunt who was a person with albinism. They told their child they didn't want to have grandchildren with albinism. It was just too sad that the young man did not fight enough, because till date he still calls me and be like, you were the best thing that happened to me, and I'm like, sorry, you had your chance and you let it go. So when I were to meet my potential in-laws, I still had that phobia, like, were they going to turn me down? Were they going to say no, this, that, but they did not. As God will have it, they did not. They just like accepted me as one of their own, and everything went smoothly. My in-laws never for once had they discriminated against me for any reason.
Okay.
Yes.
And childbearing your children, how does it feel like?
Okay, that is a whole. In fact, we should have another episode for that. Yes, because that is like the most beautiful thing that has happened to me. Having my kids. I have 2 kids, by the way, a girl and a boy. The girl is 4 and the boy is 2.
Okay.
So when I had my first child, when I went for the immunization, you have to take babies for. I was sitting beside a lady, and they didn't know I understood Yoruba. So they were saying it in Yoruba, like, this God, he can do wonderful things. Look at this woman with albinism. Look at her child. Look at other people are looking for. They did not get, but look at her child. It's not just that she has the child is. Do you get it? So I just kept quiet. I was listening. When they finished, I turned around like, and the woman wanted to enter the ground. She never thought I would hear that. So I was like, so other people deserve to have children, but I don't deserve it in your mind, right? And of course, the coloration in children comes with the father's color and that of the mother. My kids, they are like lollipops. Like, they are very beautiful. So she was like, hey, no, that's not what I meant. I was trying to say your child is very fine. I'm like, you are not complimenting me. Some compliments can actually appear to be, they are veiled insults. So I told her, you are not complimenting me, madam. So I tried to, at the point I was actually angry. So I didn't even have the time to be educating her or anything. But somebody else walked up to me and like, did you have a C-section or it was the other way? I was like, why would you think I would have a C-section? She was like, because person with albinism, in her words, say, Oyibo people know strong. Those were her words. So she said because the popular notion was that persons with albinism were not strong. So I just quickly set her straight that I had my child, not as if, it's not like I'm saying that CS is a bad experience, but I did not have CS as God would have it here. So that's.
All right, so what's your message to persons with disabilities out there, especially women and girls with disabilities?
Okay, for every woman and girl with disability out there, especially women and girls with albinism, I would like to tell you that you were made different for a reason. Find that reason and you will find your purpose. It could be that God made you to be born in your family as a woman with albinism for you to change the narrative in that locality. If I were not a person with albinism, I would not be able to speak on issues affecting persons with albinism. The day I realized that was the day I found my passion for advocacy. That was the day I found my purpose. So as a person with disability, find out why. God is not a wicked God. We had a lot of people thinking he did it to punish my father and my mother. No, he did it for you to become something that he wants to use you for. So what I would enjoin every person with disabilities, discover that, find that purpose, and give your life a meaning. And don't be pulled down by societal expectations of you or their perceptions of you. You are not what they think you are, but rather you are what God says you are.
Okay, so how will you rate the disability community in Nigeria?
Okay.
And what advice do you have?
Okay, now I would say the disability community, we have not gotten there yet. We still have a lot of work to do, but I would say well done for all that has been going on in the disability community. I see a lot of advocacy, I see a lot of capacity building, I see a lot of enlightenment, I see a lot of struggle going on. 5 years ago, we were not where we are now. We did not have the Disability Act 5 years ago. We did not have this level of acceptance 5 years ago. And it's all, thanks to the efforts of pioneers in the disability community. So I'd like to say we should keep pushing. Advocacy can never be enough. Enlightenment can never be enough. The struggle will not stop until we get where we want to get. And that is a society where there are no barriers whatsoever, where independent living is the new norm. So I would say persons with disabilities, we are doing great, but we can do greater. And let's not relent in what we are doing to see that the future generation, because trust me, disability will continue till Jesus comes. It's not going to stop. No deliverance can cancel disability in this world. So let's keep at what we're doing so that the generations that are coming behind us will not suffer some of the things that we had to go through.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were to change something about Tracy, what would that be?
My financial status. So I want to be a billionaire. That's what I'll change right now. But as a person, as a woman, there is nothing I would want to change about me. Nothing I would want to change about me. Every part of me, my flaws, my foibles, my weaknesses, they all come together to make the great me.
Okay.
Yes, my lessons, my scars, they all form the badge that I wear today. I would not change a thing. Nothing. Yeah.
And what message do you have to the society about discrimination, about discriminating persons with disabilities?
Okay, discrimination against persons with disabilities is now a crime, as according to the provisions of the Disability Act. So all those things you used to say when you see a person with disability, refusing to give jobs to persons with disabilities because of their disability, because of their impairment, is a crime. Now, you can either pay fine or you can go for a term of imprisonment. But the truth of the matter is that when you see a person with disability as you see yourself, you would not want to discriminate against them. And more importantly, please, stop focusing on what persons with disabilities cannot do, but rather focus on what they can do. Get to learn what they can do, because the truth is that what they can actually do might just blow you away.
Yeah.
That's just the truth.
Okay, Mrs. Tracy, it's been an amazing time with you in the studio here, but we're running short of time.
Oh,
Hope when next we call you, you will come.
of course, gladly.
Okay, viewers out there, this is the much you can take on today's episode. You can join us same time, same station. You can contact us on the numbers on the screen. We are open for adverts and sponsorship. I have been your host, Albinism. Saying bye bye for now.